Good morning, Don Pelayo here. I It's 4:30 in the morning. I'm awake but don't want to quite get up yet. So I thought I'd just shoot this video while I'm laying here. I been hearing a lot of podcasts, a lot of videos here lately. Two main topics. It's been both men and women complaining about relationships, and then also people complaining about the current economic environment. The economic environment I can understand. It's not easy out there right now. I work in finance, and so I'm pretty familiar with I I've seen both sides of the coin with that. I currently work for a wealth advisory firm. We deal with very affluent customers, and so I've seen that side of things, but I'm also very familiar with the struggles of everyday people too. I've had my having been married and divorced twice. Yeah, I know how difficult it is. When I went through my second divorce in particular, it was a pretty difficult time for me financially, and it was a struggle. But I'm doing well, quite a bit better now. It's been just over 10 years since I went through my last divorce, and um, what I would just tell people about the economy, especially the young people that are either in high school or maybe just coming out of high school. Even if you're in your 20s, our economy it has changed. Things are changing. I do feel like the trades are becoming more important again. We have a need for skilled craftsmen. We have a need for electricians, plumbers. We have a shortage of housing in this country, and we're going to need people that can build, construct homes, and um, there's a lot of there's a lot of jobs that people that good paying jobs out there that you can begin gaining skills to work towards. Not everybody wants to be, a go through university. So certainly going through a trade school, and learning a hands-on skill can be a valuable asset to you going into the future. I definitely think electricians, especially if everybody's talking about AI and how important it's going to be to the future, and if that's the case, we're going to need more of these data centers, um, and it requires a lot of electricity to run those. So there's going to be a strong need for more trained electricians in the future. As for relationships, I don't know what to tell you about that. I uh I haven't done very good in that department myself, and I'm 48 years old now, and I've pretty much just decided I'm going to be by myself. It seems to be easier, to be honest with you. Um, when it comes to it's difficult because I have two daughters, and I want my daughters to be happy and to have families, and I think traditionally, the family unit was traditionally the centerpiece of our culture and of our society, and that is that's changing too. um it seems like men and women just have a very difficult time getting along anymore. It seems like everybody's trying to use everybody. It doesn't really feel like anybody really cares about the other person that much anymore, and that's been one of my biggest problems with the whole relationship thing. I've just never felt like I found anyone that really cared that much. Um, I look back on it and it's like, I got my history with relationships is a little skewed because I grew up Mormon and in the Mormon church, and I was pretty devout Mormon when I was younger, and served a mission and everything else. Um when you grow up Mormon, relationships are a little different than they are outside in the normal world. Mormons tend to get married very quickly, very young. Um, outside the church these days, I think the average age to marry is like 28, something like that. 28, 30 years old. In the Mormon church, you're getting married at 21, 22 years old, early 20s. And which is not necessarily a bad thing, but I also think that people at that age don't really quite know what they're signing up for. um, at least, I think I wasn't very experienced with girls when I was younger. I didn't have any sisters growing up. I didn't spend a lot of time around girls very much when I was younger. When I was a boy, I had two brothers, and so doing boy stuff, and then and then it was baseball, 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 and playing sports and things. There's no girls around, and so really my first real experiences with girls, I wasn't like I was like 14. I was going into my mid teens when I really started having anything to do with girls. Um, I don't know. I just never really felt. I didn't feel very comfortable around girls. I was very kind of. I've always been a little bit well, haven't always been, but most of my life I've been pretty introverted. And girls like to talk. They like a lot of social interaction. I'm kind of quiet. I'm kind of introverted. I like my space a lot. I kind of like having my space, and I think that was one of the problems in my marriages is like you just never get that. You never hardly ever have time to yourself, and it's like that part of it I didn't like very much. Um. Anyway, um, when I first got married, I tried really hard to try to get things going in our relationship, and I always had this maybe idealistic, naive vision of what marriage would be like. And it was never like that. I always saw me and my wife sitting at the kitchen table and making our plans together, how we wanted our lives to go and, making plans for the future and all that. What I experienced with marriage pretty much was I went to work, made a paycheck, came home, gave it to the wife, went back to work. there was no there was no joint planning on much of anything. She just pretty much decided what the way things were going to be. That was pretty much my experience with it. Um, I and deep down inside, when I really look back at it, I never felt like any of these women really, they wanted to be married, but I never really felt like they really were in love with me. They weren't. I mean, they just wanted to be married. They didn't really care that much about me. They just needed some guy there. And they didn't really care. They didn't really care that much about me personally. And I think that's the way it's always been. I feel like I'm 48 years old. I've never had a woman genuinely in love with me. I don't think I've ever experienced that. And it hurts a little bit to say that, but I believe it. I genuinely do believe that. And so now, fast forward, I'm 48 years old, and there's still people that think that I should get back out there and try to find another woman. I'm like, for what? None of them care. None of them really care. But, I, why am I going to try to drag some person into my life that isn't really that into me? I don't. What's the point? I don't see any point to it. I'm not having any more children. I've got 2 daughters. I'm not having any more. What what would the point be in me bringing a woman into my life at this point? I mean, to me, I just feel like the only thing that I could expect is to have her make my life more complicated, and it would. So, I just don't see any reason to do that. Um, anyway, I, I've been thinking a lot about this stuff. I've been seeing a lot of podcasts, a lot of people. There's some men out there that seem very, very frustrated by it, that are younger than me. These guys are in their mid 20s, early 30s, and they seem extremely frustrated with relationships. And all I would say is, you know, and it might be easy for me to say this, but, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I was I've spent 11 years total of my life being married, and the one part of it I enjoyed was seeing my children born and watching them grow up. I have enjoyed that part of it. I would hope, to me, everyone should have the experience of being a parent, watching your children grow up and learning, and um that's a pretty that's really part of that's the main reason we're here. It's like to bring up children and watch them grow. um I understand bringing them into this world right now. It's not an easy world to live in. I do think there's going to be changes. I do feel like change is coming. There might be some turbulence getting there, but I feel like there's change coming. um but forget about the economy and all that. Having children, it just brings a different level of satisfaction and happiness to your life. um it's just a special part of being human. um but this frustration, women, I see the videos from women too online, and they're very frustrated with dating. And men are very skittish about it now. Men, I think the young men, young guys in their 20s, they've been hearing the horror stories, and we've scared them to death. And so now now young men are just completely just saying, screw it. I'm not gonna get married. I'm just going to, do my own thing. And a lot of guys are going that way. Um, I understand it. Honestly, if I was starting all over again from my early 20s, it's difficult because I wouldn't change the fact, that I had my kids, but I don't feel like I should have gotten married. I don't feel like any of these, for me, marriage is two people who genuinely love each other, you know, and it's like I don't feel like ever found that. I don't feel like I ever found a woman that was genuinely, truly in love with me. I don't think I have ever found that. And I think that's always been part of the problem for me, is I never felt anything coming back from the other side, really. Um, and that's been kind of the biggest disappointment about the whole thing for me. I always expected to find somebody that genuinely cared about me, that genuinely wanted to be with me and me specifically, not just some guy, you know. Um, I never found that. So it is what it is. I don't feel sad about it really anymore. I used to. I used to feel that frustration, that bitterness when I was younger. Now, now it is different now. I think my second marriage really took it out of me. I think after those my second marriage only lasted 3 years, and it was a miracle it lasted that long. Um, I, uh, I remember I just said, "God, if you get me out of this, I swear I will never do this again." I I'm, I I just, I just wasn't happy, I just it was miserable, um, for most of it. I, and I'm at the point, I just got to a point where it's like, it's just not worth it anymore. So, I don't know. If I went back to when I was 20 years old and knowing what I know now, would I get married? I don't know. I I'm glad I had my kids, that part of it I don't have any regret about at all. Um, Marriage itself, the relationships that I've had with women have not been the best, and I don't know. So, I guess, you just have to decide what's best for you, and, know the type of person. I would say that if you are thinking about getting married, to really know the person that you're marrying. I always think that, you really need to know that person for a year, for a few years. You need to be good friends and have known each other. I feel like you need to have known each other for a few years before you get married, but that's my opinion about it. Um, I think these marriages where people are getting married just a few months after meeting each other, that's not, I don't think that's good. I think that's really subject to change. It's like you don't really know what you're getting into, and anyway, but um today's Friday. I'm happy about that. I'm This week, this week started out really slow at work, where the days were just dragging, and then Wednesday and Thursday went by really fast. So I'm hoping today will go by pretty fast too. We'll see. I'm I feel pretty tired. I had this bariatric surgery back in October. I've lost about 80 pounds, and my energy levels have been a little off. I'm taking bariatric vitamins and all of that, but I still I feel considerably weaker than I did before my surgery. I had a lot. Part of that 80 pounds was muscle mass that I've lost. I think roughly about a third, maybe about 30% of what I've lost was muscle. 70% was fat, but 30% was muscle. The other day at work, I was I was coming into the work building, and the wind was just blowing very, very strong. And we actually had tornado warnings in our area. And so the wind was really, really kicked up. And the side door at work, I was coming in the door, and I pulled the door open, and the wind was making it very difficult to get the door open. And there was an older woman coming in behind me, and I was trying to hold the door for her, and I was struggling to hold this door open the way that as hard as the wind was blowing. And I kind of staggered a little bit trying to keep the door open, and she tripped over my foot and completely fell on the ground. I felt horrible about it. She was probably close, upper 60s, early 70s, and I helped her get into a chair, but before my surgery, I think I would have been able to hold that door open with no problem. But I could feel my body's just a lot weaker. It's just I've lost a good 20 pounds or so of of muscle mass. So I need to I have started lifting weights again here at home, and just trying to focus on eating my protein and everything, trying to regain some of that muscle mass that I've lost. Um, I am so ready for spring. It's like winter is not my favorite time of year. I don't like winter very much. This winter we've had kind of a colder winter than we've had in a few years. I'm kind of glad that spring is coming. But anyway, for all of those of you that are really frustrated with relationships and with the job market and the economy, hang on. Don't give up. Um, I would say, in terms of the economy, be doing what you can to try to gain some additional knowledge sets, some different skills. Um, whether it be computer skills, whether it be learning how to, learning a trade, something like anything like that can definitely help. For those of you that are a little bit older, one thing I might encourage you to do is try to find some certifications that you could, become certified in something. It's a lot cheaper than going back to school, and usually you can, maybe take a class, or and then get some certifications that can help you earn more money. Um, Also, you can always do a side hustle to earn more money. Right now, I'm door dashing in the evenings. I'm primarily doing it to pay off debt. Most of the money that I earn door dashing, I'm using to pay off debt and to stash in my savings accounts. And I've set a goal of earning $500 a week dashing. I hit that last week. I'm going to do it again this week. And I mean, that's an extra $2,000 a month, and I'm just putting that on debt and on and in savings, and just continuing to pay things off and improve my cash flow situation. It's like, so it's working pretty well. The biggest drawback is I am putting miles on my car. I'm putting a lot of, wear and tear on my car. So I've began adding an extra $200 a month to my car payment. That'll shave a year and a half off of the car note term. I've done the financial calculation on it, so it shaved about 18 months off the car note. So that's what I'm doing. Anyway, just some ideas. Hang in there. Don't give up. There are some people that are really hurting and really frustrated with both of these issues right now. Um, I grew up very traditional, and in a perfect world, I feel like marriage is a good thing. Having family units is a good thing, but it's not a perfect world. And we have a lot of broken people out here, a lot of people whose priorities are screwed up, and I just don't feel like we have the same stock of people that we had, in my grandparents' generation. It's just the world's just different now. But anyway, this is Don Pelayo signing off. Hang in there.